Well, welcome to Postgrad podcast. It's terrific to be speaking with Professor Darrell Bock. To many Australians, Darrell will be familiar from his commentary on the Gospel according to Luke. But I was wondering, Darrell, if you could tell us a little bit about your journey in scholarship. How did you end up coming to be the author of this volume that we love and know? And how did you come to be teaching at DTS?
Well, Bruce, first of all, it's good to be connected with you and what is kind of ultimate social distancing across an ocean, et cetera. My career, I did my doctoral work at Aberdeen, Scotland, under I. Howard Marshall, and I worked on the use of the Old Testament and the New for Christology. So there was a lot of hermeneutical, Old Testament, New Testament, biblical theology, Christology in that. That led directly into the invitation to do the commentary on Luke, which I spent 14 years on, literally virtually every day for 14 years, an hour to an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours a day. And I went from Aberdeen directly to Dallas. I've never left. I started off as a wee associate pastor and then, professor, and then became assistant and associate, and then eventually full. And now I'm senior research professor of New Testament studies and have also executive director for cultural engagement at the Hendricks Center. I've done a lot of writing, mostly on the Gospels. I'm pretty restricted in terms of what I teach now to the Gospels and Acts, historical Jesus. I'm pretty focused on the first half of the New Testament. As well as the cultural engagement stuff that I do. I host a podcast called The Table Podcast. Welcome to the Table. We discuss issues of God and culture. And we cover pretty much anything and everything. And actually, the last time I was with you all, I did an intensive on cultural engagement, which was kind of an experiment for me because I'd never actually taught that course at Dallas. So I've really enjoyed the relationship that we've had. Each time I come, I get a sports shirt of one kind or another. First time I got a Sydney Swans jersey because they found out I liked Aussie rules. And then the second time I came, I got a Queensland State of the Union jersey just to make sure the loyalties were right. And I have no idea what I'm getting the third time. But the first time I had no sleeves. The second time I had sort of half sleeves, and I've been promised full sleeves this next time around.
That sounds like it's the right way around there. That's fantastic. We are very much looking forward to you coming back to BST, and you'll be teaching an intensive on the Book of Acts. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about this unit. We've been suggesting to pastors that it would be excellent preparation for a sermon series preaching through the Book of Acts, but maybe you can tell us a little more about this unit.
Well, of course, Acts is a very important book. It's kind of the hinge between the Gospels and the epistles. It also is a glimpse of a selective look at the early church history. More importantly, it also deals with cross-cultural issues as the church moves from preaching to an exclusively Jewish audience to a more Gentile engagement. It wrestles with the question of how do you speak to people who don't know a thing about the Bible? They don't know Genesis from Malachi, from Revelation, from 3rd Nehemiah. So that book doesn't exist, of course. So we'll do a lot of work with both the message of the book and the way to think about how to think cross-culturally about how you present the message. There's a lot of theology in the book, a lot of important Christology, some very important cross-cultural communication about the gospel, how you respond to the gospel, what the content of the gospel is, including some surprises with regard to that, which I think will be worth discussing. So it's just a great book to look at and work through, and it does produce a very nice potential for a wonderful series, particularly thinking through how the church can function in a context where it has little social or political power, but yet was able to present itself effectively so that it grew in the midst of that environment.
That sounds extremely exciting and very edifying. We're also looking forward to being able to celebrate the launch of your new book. So that is actually slightly outside the Gospels, your area of specialty. Can you tell us a little bit about your new book?
Yeah, we'll be writing a book. Well, we've written the book. It's actually through its last stages now. It's in what's called second proofs, and out in September. And it's on. It's basically a biblical theology of cultural engagement. It's called Cultural Intelligence, and it's about how to function in a pluralistic world, how the gospel should function, how people who are a part of the church should function in really a challenging cultural environment. And the assumption is that the cultural environment that we function in, whether we're in the United States or in Australia, is a challenging environment for Christian faith and Christian belief. And so we work through that. It's in really 5 parts. There's a theology of cultural engagement based around 6 core passages, then a discussion about how Paul talked about culture versus how he spoke to culture and the importance of the difference. A third one, how to have difficult conversations with people who you don't agree with, how to have the chance that that conversation could be positive. Fourth one, on the importance of tone, the importance of love. And then last, look hermeneutically at how to move from life situations back to the Bible to assess them, because normally in seminary what we teach is look at the text and then make your application. So how can you switch hit, or to use perhaps a Commonwealth illustration, how can you be an all-rounder? And in the midst of that, hopefully help people think about how they engage with their neighbors as they share and think about their faith.
There's a beautiful example of cultural engagement there, Darrell, being able to move from across the pond with your sporting analogies. I tried
Comes
to
from
do
watching
that.
the Sydney Swans, comes from, being an Aussie rules fan and cricket fan. And, I even know what netball is. There's darts, bowling. I mean, you take a pick. I mean, rugby, although in America, a touchdown, they call it a touchdown, even though we don't touch the ball down. So it's just one of those things that you have to deal with when you're teaching in a cross-cultural environment.
No, that's beautiful. We are very much looking forward to seeing you again. But tell us a little bit about the COVID experience in Dallas. We are speaking to each other in isolation, as you mentioned, isolated in our rooms. How is the COVID experience playing out at Dallas Theological Seminary?
Well, we've canceled classes. This hit right during our spring break. We expanded that break for a week to just kind of see what was going to happen. Then we canceled all live classes on campus, which is true through the year. We've also canceled our commencement. And so everything that we're doing right now, teaching wise, is being done online. I just spent Friday night, 3.5 hours Friday night, teaching a class, and the experience was so exhilarating. I've already decided I'm going to do it differently next time. So we're learning on the fly, and but having a good time connecting with students and trying to encourage them in the midst of this, and to remind them that God's sovereignty is bigger than anything that we go through, and that our relationship with Him is solid no matter what. So hopefully we put people in a position to minister more effectively and to care about what's going on around them as a result.
Indeed. And have you found any opportunities have actually arisen, surprising opportunities for your ministry or for DTS in general?
Well, actually, we're in the process of transition. We've spent the last 2 weeks basically canceling out about 6 months worth of scheduled events that we have at the Hendricks Center, where I'm executive director. And this morning was the first time we were able with our staff to talk about, all right, we don't have any events to execute. The calendar is clean. How can we actually minister to people? And one of the ideas that we have come up with, and that we're in the process of trying to figure out how to execute, is to connect with a local church, which is going to be an experiment to connect with local churches with their high school and college age group kids who also are being sequestered in the midst of this, and offer to them a time to dialogue and discuss apologetics issues and those kinds of things as they think about sharing with their people they're interacting with, the kinds of questions that they have, and providing resources for them in a Zoom format so that they can have some face-to-face time with the kinds of questions they're wrestling with and that they're talking to their friends about. So we think this has terrific potential in terms of developing with the students. We're actually toying with developing a summer internship program out of it once all this is over, to continue those relationships, and in some cases to track with those kids through high school and college as they think about what they're going to be doing once they, complete their education.
Well, that sounds marvelous. Thank you for your time this morning, Darrell. And I'd like to encourage you, if you want to find out more about Darrell's Master of Theological Studies intensive at BST, to take a look at the web address that is coming up on the screen at this point. Feel free to get in touch with me. It's always possible to audit these units. That is, if you don't want to take the unit for credit, means you get all the pleasure of engaging with Darrell and you don't have to do any assignments. And I guess that's pleasure for Darrell too. That's one less assignment for him to mark. But thank you for speaking with us, and we very much look forward to your upcoming visit with BST.
Well, I'm looking forward to being there. It's always a joy to be with you all. Y'all do great work, and it's always fun to be in Australia, and we enjoy Brisbane as well. So we're looking forward to coming back. Sally loves to ride the little, it's not a subway, it's a boatway into town. So we love visiting you all and seeing everybody, and reminding ourselves that we're connected by a faith that really knows no borders, and even the Pacific Ocean can't keep us away from one another.
Amen.